going on, guys? 44, the legendary here with a New Orleans Saints versus Minnesota Vikings post-game video. It's been about an hour since the game has ended. Had a little bit of time to gather my thoughts. Turn this off real quick. It's making a lot of noise. There we go. Okay. Had a few moments to gather my thoughts and thoroughly process the game. It seems like every week it's literally these bulleted list of things that we can go through each and every single loss. Because it's not specifically on one thing, it's more of a series of things. And as a fan, you try to distinguish and look at these small tactics in every game that you lose and try to point out, well, if this didn't happen, if that didn't happen, if this would have happened, if he would have made this kick, if he would have did this, if he wouldn't have overthrown this guy, if this guy wouldn't have fumbled the ball. And as a fan, you have the tendency to do that when your team loses, especially losing a close game or a game that's within grasp. I think with the New Orleans Saints, and everybody can likely agree with this, it's just gotten to the point to where the Saints losing these games has just become a pattern. And when I say pattern, I mean there's a specific theme that follows this team for every game that they lose. It's not as simple as saying, well, Blake Grupe missed a field goal, or Derek Carr overthrew this guy, or this one play call that we had costed us the game. It's more of this is the culture of the team. This culture is instilled in this team, and it's literally the narrative that they're stuck with until actual changes are made. Not only is this showing on the football field, but psychologically, it's showing. I mean, you go watch a Saints game. You go watch a Saints game, and you can tell right off the bat in the first half, you can tell whether or not the Saints are going to win the game or not, regardless of what they do in the second half. You can tell right off the bat. When it was 24-3 at halftime, I think we all knew deep down as fans that regardless of what happens in the second half, the narrative is just like the narrative is just we're not going to win no matter what. Even when they came back and made it 27-19, in the back of my mind, I knew, yeah, it's 27-19 with 11:40 to go, but the algorithm of this New Orleans Saints team is it's they're not going to win this game. You just knew they weren't gonna finish the game. They weren't going to finish the game. They weren't going to win the game. You just knew, regardless of whether or not they fought hard in the second half. And with this New Orleans Saints team, you've got an old car. You've got an old car that's past its time. Past its time. You keep trying to fix this car up. And I say car with with no pun intended because I don't not referring specifically to him, but you have a broken down vehicle. It keeps on breaking down. You know you need to get a new vehicle, but you consistently and constantly insist on running this vehicle into the ground. But you know deep down that this vehicle is past its time. It's not going to get you anywhere. This New Orleans Saints team is like dropping a vase on the ground, picking up all the glass off the floor, and trying to glue the pieces back together instead of just buying a new vase. And that's from top to bottom. So whenever I talk about looking at the small things that this team does to lose games, close games, that gets exhausting. It gets exhausting. I'm tired of counting how many mess ups the offense has, or how many missed tackles the defense has, or how many penalties, or how many missed field goals. I'm tired of it. There's a simple theme to define this entire structure, this entire team. And that theme is that you just got to make changes. And I don't mean changes in relation to week changes. I mean actual changes. You got to get rid of some people. You got to clear out personnel. It's got to happen. And until it does, it's not going to change. You're going to get sucked back into it. They might win a game or two and then get you believing again. And then they're going to go right back to showing you who they really are. Mediocrity is what this team is, and it's what it's going to be as long as things remain the same. And as of right now, you can agree with me. You can blame it on one of these things. You can blame it on all of these things. Right now, you have an owner that is a family first owner, values continuity, and quite frankly, to me, has no idea what she's doing. You can agree with that, disagree with it. I'm standing by it. You've got a general manager who stubbornly insists on trying to chase after the past, the old NFL, instead of moving forward and evolving with the new NFL. Can't help but reminisce on the past, on what was. Keeps on trying to chase back after it. It's not there anymore. It's gone. It's gone. So you've got a general manager that keeps on looking to the past, and Mickey Loomis refuses to look forward, refuses to accept the fact that this league has evolved, that Sean Payton is not there anymore. His continuity is not there anymore. You've got an offensive coordinator that is brain dead, literally brain dead, does not know what he's doing, doesn't know his head from his ass. You've got a head coach. Let me rephrase that. You've got a lieutenant as a head coach. You don't have a leader. You don't have a guy that knows how to lead grown men. You've got a lieutenant as a head coach, a phony, an imposter, pretends to be a leader, but he's not a leader. You've got Andy Dalton 2.0. Andy Dalton 2.0 as your quarterback, making $150 million for 3 years. You're stuck with him. You look at Derek Carr and you look at Andy Dalton throughout their careers, and you tell me how different their paths have been. You got two quarterbacks that were drafted by one specific franchise, spent 9 years with each franchise, have been to the playoffs a few times, never won anything. Those franchises eventually said to themselves, we know that it's the end for us and these quarterbacks. We got to move on. And the Saints were foolish enough, not only to go out and pursue these wasted goods, but to give more than what you receive for. The Saints were foolish enough to do that, and they got. Derek Carr's got all that money now. That's his money. We're stuck with him. I was watching Matt Moscona. If you know who Matt Moscona is, he covers LSU, the Saints, Pelicans, Louisiana sports in general. Words things so smoothly. I mean, everything that he says is spot on. And he summed this whole entire sequence up in such precise wording. You've got an owner that doesn't know how to be an owner. She just can't help but value family first continuity. You got a general manager that keeps on trying to chase the past. You got a head coach that's a lieutenant. He's not a head coach. He's not a leader. He doesn't hold authority. He portrays to hold authority, but he doesn't. You've got an offensive coordinator that is brain dead, knows nothing, knows nothing. You've got a quarterback that is essentially Andy Dalton 2.0, and you're paying like 10 times more than what you paid Andy Dalton. That's the New Orleans Saints in a nutshell. That's the New Orleans Saints in a nutshell. You can take all these turnovers, you can take missed tackles, you can take missed field goals. You can use that and distinguish each and every little tiny bit and piece of a game all you want and say, well, if this would have been better, if that would have been better, if this would have happened, if that wouldn't have happened. But the easiest way to sum up this entire sequence is from top to bottom, from leadership, from management, from authority, and all the way down to um, decision making. This has just been a poorly run franchise. Poorly run franchise. You spend $150 million on a quarterback whose team just gave up on him. Just gave up on him. Hadn't has never won a playoff game ever. You pay $150 million for this guy. Scared to throw the ball downfield. Andy Dalton 2.0. I think it's one of those things where you take Mickey Loomis, you take Dennis Allen, and you say, "Hey, thank you for Mickey Loomis. Thank you for the Super Bowl run that we've had. Thank you for um, getting us out of cap hell and getting us pieces in the past to um, get us to the point in the get us to the success that we've had. Thank you, Mickey Loomis. You've been here for a while. Thank you for your loyalty." Um, Dennis Allen, thank you for turning this defense around from the dark days of Rob Ryan and Steve Spagnuolo whenever they absolutely ruined this defense. Thank you. Thank you for that. But it's time to move on. It's time to move on. It's time. I mean, you have been in arguably the worst division for now 2 years in a row, and you arguably have the best talent on your roster, and you're not able to break away and gain separation. I said going into the year, and I knew better. I knew better. I said my expectation for this team was between 7 and 10 wins, and I heard Goose mentioning it on his post game video that the Saints they're mediocre. They're not bad enough to win 2 games. They're not bad enough to win 2 games or 3 games, but they're not good enough to exceed and win 12 or 13. They're right in that middle of the pack, and they're always going to be there as long as we still have the same personnel running this team. And I knew coming into the year that, and I knew 7 to 10 wins coming into the year for me personally was the right expectation. And I'm glad that I made that uh, a point of emphasis. I had a few people come on and say that we were going to go 12-5 or 13-4, and I scratch my head and think to myself, what kind of water are y'all drinking? What kind of water are you guys drinking to think that we are going to win 12 or 13 games? And they told me, well, I know the coaching sucks, but the players are really good. It doesn't matter how good your players are. If you don't have the strategy to move the football or um, the strategy of identity, just the strategy of identity. We don't have an identity. I mean, it's been noted the last how many games when Taysom Hill runs the ball 7 times or has the ball in his hand or gets the snap 7 times or whatever. I forgot the exact stat, but the Saints are like 90% win rate when that happens. Taysom Hill got the ball in his hands. Taysom Hill never got the ball in his hands today. He never took any snaps today. Alvin Kamara had 9 carries. And Goose, I was in your stream earlier, and you read what I said, dude. I said the Minnesota Vikings cannot stop the run. The Saints need to find consistency on the ground game and hit them with a unexpected pass from time to time. But they need to find foundation on the run game because the Vikings look like they can't stop the run. I was in your stream, Goose, and I remember typing that. And then after that one penalty they had in the first quarter when it was 3-0 that set us back and we had to kick a field goal. After that, it's just they they just got away from everything. There was no foundation. There was no foundation. And that boils up to coaching. Yeah, but your general manager is condoning this. That's his coaching. He wants them here. So as far as I'm concerned, that's management too. You got a general manager that gets a head coach that keeps the offensive play caller that calls stupid plays, that doesn't call the correct plays, that fits his players' abilities. And I'm sorry, but like Goose said, when Alvin Kamara is getting 6 yards of carry and this Vikings defense looks like they can get shred through, on 2nd and 1, instead of throwing a screen pass to Shaheed and losing 3 yards and then having to punt the football, I would think you would run the ball up the gut again. Would you not? There was a sequence on our first possession of the game where we had it in Minnesota territory. We get it to like 2nd and 2, and it was an Alvin Kamara run that got us to 2nd and 2, and instead of running the ball on second down, Pete Carmichael dials up a play, snap the ball, throw a screen to the right to Shaheed, and Shaheed loses like 3 yards. So now you're in a third down where you have to throw it, and they didn't get it obviously on 3rd and 5. I mean, I'm tired of coming on here and saying this offensive play calling is atrocious. I'm tired of it. That's Dennis Allen's offensive coordinator. That's Mickey Loomis's coach. Aside from that, this is an undisciplined football team. It shows on and off the field. You got players getting arrested. You get inside the game, you got all these penalties costing you drives and possessions. And you got these players walking around with their hands on their hips looking like, what did I do? What did I do? Undisciplined football. So that's a head coaching problem. Defense not being able to make a damn tackle. Defense not being able to get sacks and get home in the first half. Letting this backup quarterback, Josh Dobbs, do whatever the hell he wanted. And the defense just looked like a bunch of old fat fucks. Breathless. Cam Jordan couldn't get shit going. Granderson couldn't get shit going. Nobody could get a sack in the first half. Nobody can make a stop. No discipline. No discipline. Oh, and as I speak, they're showing the highlights on Fox 8. Joshua Dobbs running the touchdown in and then throwing it to Hawkinson, which Hawkinson killed us in the first half. Killed us. Pathetic, dude. Pathetic. See what Dennis Allen says.
Being more competitive in first halves of games where guys, fought their tails off to give
You
themselves a chance.
fucking dumbass. That's what he's gonna say in the midst of a game where you play a shitty first half, in a game that you should have never lost in the first place, a game that you should have been the more superior team. Our players fought their tails off to get back in the game in the second half. We don't need that fucking glass half full type of bullshit, dude. Dennis Allen is such an ass kisser, a fucking lieutenant. He's not a leader. He's the guy that fills in when the deputy is absent. He might be worse than fucking Aaron Cromer, who took over for interim coach when the Saints lost Sean Payton in 2012. Hell, at least that offense could score points. Put Dennis Allen at that level. Hell, if I'm not mistaken, and well, I think Joe Vitt was the coach by then. The Saints beat fucking Dennis Allen that year by 21 points. Like I said, you got an owner in Gail Benson that all she wants to do is go down on the field and twirl that stupid fucking umbrella around and oh, I love my coaches for the Saints. I love my coaches. Family first, continuity, all this other bullshit. Doesn't give a fuck about winning. Mickey Loomis keeps on trying to look at the past and Sean Payton, you coming back? Oh, oh, oh. Motherfucker, the NFL has evolved. The NFL has evolved. Whatever the fuck you're looking back at and trying to recreate is gone. You got a head coach that is a lieutenant, not a leader, doesn't know his head from his ass. You got an offensive play caller that is brain dead. Brain dead. He doesn't look up statistics. He doesn't look at winning statistics. Whenever the Vikings blitz 54% of the time, he knew the Vikings were going to blitz. He knew it and did nothing about it. Nothing. Nothing about it. Didn't do anything about it. Nothing. You got Taysom Hill, who, whenever he has 7 or 8 carries a game, the Saints are like at a 95% win percentage. Doesn't even run them. You got 2nd and 2 at the Minnesota 43 on the first possession of the game. You had Alvin Kamara just run 6 yards or 8 yards to get to 2nd and 2. What do? You throw a side screen to Rashid Shaheed and lose 4 yards. And then you end up having to punt because you're a dumbass. That's the New Orleans Saints. A lot of people are going to be like, well, there's such a fine line between the Saints being this record and that record. Well, no shit. No shit. We have talent. We have talent on the football team. That's not denied. So of course you're going to see those fine lines. You're going to see that just goes back to my point in saying all these small little things that cost us these games. It's like we're not getting blown out. It's these small little things that are costing us these games. Well, yeah, you've got a talented team that's going to stay in a lot of games. But when you look at upper management and the decisions that are being made on and off the field, it doesn't matter how talented your team is. The sad part is that as long as we get a winning record and win the division or make the playoffs or whatever, this shit ain't going nowhere. 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 None. Yeah, literally. Literally. And with this defense, it's been the same shit every week. In the first half, they give up 17 plus points. In the second half, they allow the other team to 3 or 7. But you're already too deep in a hole. By halftime, you're down like 14, 17, 21. To where it doesn't matter what you do in the second half because you're already too deep in a hole. Well, unless you're the Saints. If you're the Saints, you can be up 17 or 21 at halftime, and the other team can come back, as we saw in week 3 against Green Bay. unless you're the Saints. If you're the Saints, then that doesn't apply to you. But every other team, when they're playing the Saints, all they need is a nice little two-score cushion, double-digit lead at halftime. Doesn't have to be 30 points, and the defense can shut down the other offense all they want in the second half because it's not going to matter. So there you have it. It is what it is with this team. I mean, you knew they were going to lose even when it was halftime, even though you knew that okay, 24-3 has been uh, dethroned before, and teams have come back from 24-3. You just knew that, and you figured that the Saints were going to score some touchdowns to keep themselves alive, but you knew that they weren't going to be able to finish. Like even when it was 27-19, although I was in the moment and feeling joyful, I knew deep down, like, I'm just going to try to enjoy this moment because I know when it gets down to the nitty gritty that they're not going to be able to finish this game. Yeah, Goose, the only thing about LSU winning is that they can't do anything. They can get to like the Citrus Bowl or some shit like that, but they can't go. The playoff doesn't exist for 12 teams yet in college football. LSU can't do shit with a 7-3 record or a 9 and if they finish 9-3, a 9-3 record. So college football, the joy in college football for me has been stripped as soon as LSU loses 2 games because I know, according to these stupid rules, that they can't play for anything significant even if they win a bowl game, because nobody's going to give a fuck about a Tostitos Fiesta Bowl win over a national championship win. So I think the whole college football schema here and the whole strategy that they have going is it's like once your team loses 2 games, that's it. Like I wish Tulane had a chance to make the college football playoff. They have only one loss, but because they don't play anybody, they can't. So it's like the only hope saving grace that I have for any of my teams making the playoffs is I would say the Pelicans, but the Pelicans suck too. And if the Saints win this division at 8-9 or 9-8, they're gonna get bounced in the first round, probably by my boy Pat's team. Probably by my boy Pat's team. They'll probably get bounced in the first round by Pat's team. That's probably what's gonna happen. Maybe Pat can make that game. Maybe Pat could make that game if that happens in the playoffs. Maybe me and Pat could meet up if the Saints made the playoffs and he made that game for the wild card round. That would be probably the best part of that week would be meeting my boy Pat. That's about it. And then the Saints would lose like 35-7 in the wild card round to Dallas. I mean, I don't like what feedback do you give? Like what positives do you give from this? It's the same shit. Like just when you start to see improvement in the Indianapolis game, it doesn't last long. And I mean last week it didn't nothing happened. We didn't do anything last week. The Bears just suck. That's why we beat them. They're just worse than us. Surprisingly, the Vikings, I would say, are about what and what with us. But whenever you see the Saints play quality football teams, they piss their legs. I mean, it's been proven all year long. You play a decent Houston team, you piss your leg. You play a good Jacksonville team, piss your leg. You play a decent Minnesota team, piss your leg. And here's another thing with the NFL. Why the fuck am I still watching Dallas and the Giants? It's 28 nothing. We all knew this game was going to go south fast. Why is this still on my TV? Why can't they switch it to Washington and Seattle? I would say the Falcons game, but the Falcons play on CBS. Why can't they switch the game? Why do I have to watch this blowout? Hey, Pat, I know you're enjoying it. I flipped the channel. I had to put it on the Chargers in Detroit. I can't watch that Dallas game any longer. That shit was boring. 28 nothing. Has there ever been a team that swept another team and shut them out in both games? Has that ever happened in the NFL? Like if Dallas ends up not letting the Giants score anything, will that be the first time that a team has swept another team and let them score literally no points? Buck Skull Gang. It don't matter who's the Saints will. I think the Falcons are going to lose to Arizona today. They're down 17-15. I think they're going to end up. I think they're going to end up losing that game. It don't matter. It doesn't matter. The Saints could still be leading the South all the way until the final game of the year. That doesn't mean shit. Because you don't see any kind of signs of them getting better or gaining an identity. That's the biggest team. That's the biggest thing with this team. This team has no identity, and it's not even close. There is like Dennis Allen doesn't know who this team is. The hell with Carmichael. This is Dennis Allen's team. He doesn't know what this team does best. I think as a head coach, you're supposed to know what your bread and butter is. The Saints have none. And that when they win games, it's because the team that they're playing is just slightly worse than us. Or sucks that much worse than us. Or they get lucky making plays. I mean, that's what it seems like. Except for the Patriots game. The Patriots game was probably the only game where I could say that the Saints like dominated full-heartedly. Every other game, the Saints really got lucky because the other team wasn't shit. Indy ain't shit. The Bears aren't shit. Tennessee isn't shit. The Panthers suck. I mean, yeah, just pathetic. You got the freaking Emperor of Empty Yards, Derek Carr, throws for 300 yards and no touchdowns, and the Saints score 12 points. Yeah, Matt Moscona referred to Derek Carr as the Emperor of Empty Yards, EEY. Let's call him EEY from now on. Give him a little Emperor suit. Somebody put his face on the Emperor's New Groove, that little that animated cartoon show. Put Derek Carr's face on the main character in some kind of Egyptian outfit or whatever. Pat, like I said, man, this team has no discipline on and off the field. If this was Sean Payton's team, Sean Payton wouldn't be putting up with this shit. I promise you. Dennis Allen is a lieutenant. He's a coward. He doesn't know how to speak up for himself. He's a yes man, a follower. Giants quarterback just threw a damn. I think that was OPI. Was that not OPI against the Giants right there? I mean, yeah. Buck Skull Gang. The funny thing is, you defend the Saints more than anybody I know. And you're a Buccaneers fan. What's up, Pat? How you doing, bro? What's your question, buddy? Inform me of your question. Damn, it's 5:30. Holy crap. Oh, well, I guess it is is it a first down Giants? Did they move that play back? I don't know. The Cowboys are on. I got them on right now. I can't tell if Darius Slayton pushed off right there. They did push him. Yeah, they did put him back. Yeah, well, Sean Payton put Dennis Allen and Carmichael in their places, so I mean. Yeah, Sean Payton, fuck you. Fuck you, Sean Payton. Yeah, fuck you, Sean Payton. Oh shit. The little Giants players running. DeVito. Danny DeVito. Love you too, Pat, man. You already know, bro. Danny DeVito runs the ball. There's a flag, though. How the hell do you have a holding play on? Oh, okay. Well, first down, Giants. Come on, Pat. You can't let them score, dude. You can't let them score. You cannot let them score. Not gonna lie, I might fuck around and go down the street and get some ice cream. Saquon Barkley big run. Now the Giants want to start playing, huh? The number 15 runs and he's inside the 15. Let's see. Barber with a run inside the 10-yard line. First and goal for the Giants. Wide open. Touchdown Giants. Why are you dancing? You're down 28-6 still. Lawrence Kager. Damn, sorry, Pat. Sorry about that, buddy. Excuse this. All right, folks. I'll say what I needed to say. It's been 46 minutes. The Saints organization is in a disarray. You got an owner that clearly doesn't give a shit. All she cares about is family and all that stuff. You got a general manager that keeps on trying to reinvent the past, and that's not going to work. You got a head coach that has no balls, and he's literally a lieutenant, not a not a leader. So you got a head coach as a lieutenant. You got a offensive coordinator that's an idiot. I mean, it is what it is at this point. So you guys take it easy. I'm out. Peace.